Am I live now?
You're live now, David. Don't worry.
So you put the bumper up?
The screen. Gina got the bumper up.
Gina got the bumper up? Good job, Gina. And how about the disclosure? You want to read the disclosure for me? Since I don't have a screen yet?
Absolutely. The opinions of the host, guests, any callers, and anyone who comments are not representative of the opinion of Mr. Singer's employer or anyone associated with Gloves Off.
That's funny. Thank you for reading that. Once you get my screen going, let me know. Always a technical issue in the bunker. Welcome to the bunker. We're here with Mo. Thanks for joining Gloves Off. We appreciate you for joining in another day. Today, we're going to go back to gun control and some other issues. I know I talked about gun control a couple weeks ago, but I think it's a really important. Oh, she's saying, look at that. Gina, you're supposed to tell me when my hair's that bad. Anyway, so throw me my brush. I'm not. She goes, hold on, guys. Have you ever tried to do this on live TV? Okay, there we go. Anyway, so thank you. Thanks for tuning in. My hair was like, it's been raining out and it's frizzy and it's Miami weather. And what do you want? Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about gun control because it's a very important topic. I'm going to read some emails out that I've gotten that I've received on a couple comments that were placed on Facebook. I got Mo with me. Sorry, I didn't introduce Mo because we're a little crazy today. But before we do that, I want to talk 5 seconds about South Dade. If anybody lives in South Dade, Pinecrest, South Miami, Palmetto Bay, Homestead, Cutler Bay. I just heard the news that we have a District 8 council, Miami-Dade council woman, Danielle Cohen-Higgins, who just basically received $6 million. She applied for and received $6 million, $3 million from the state of Florida, $3 million from, I think, Dade County to build a bike path down the busway for people to walk, bike, cycle, run, whatever they wanted to do, which is great because maybe it will take some of these bikes off Old Cutler Road because there's a lot of hazards for the cyclists on Old Cutler Road because of all the cars. This takes them off. This gives them a straight run to go from Dadeland down to Homestead. It gives them a straight run, and hopefully they'll get that 20 miles built rather quickly. So we'll keep some of the bikes off the roads, keep the cyclists safe, keep the drivers safe. And so I want to congratulate Danielle Cohen-Higgins, District 8. What's funny is, I guess it's really not funny, but it's interesting. My favorite mayor in Dade County.
I was waiting for this part.
You were waiting?
Yeah, I was waiting.
You were waiting for the tie-in? Yeah. My favorite mayor in Dade County. Okay, Palmetto Bay Mayor Karen Cunningham actually found somebody to run. There's a little cat fighting going in, between the women. And
wait, are you making a sexist comment here? Just
no,
because the women are calling it a cat fight?
It's just called a cat fight. Anyway, okay. So actually, Danielle Cohen-Higgins probably isn't a cat fight because she's extremely professional. But the fact of the matter is, Mayor Cunningham doesn't like Danielle Cohen-Higgins at all. And she found somebody. She went out of her way to find somebody to run against her. Okay. Which is, to me, is mind-boggling. It's very cold. It's very calculated. But that's just who Mayor Cunningham is. She's very cold, calculated, and not very. She's got no morals, man. That's all I could say. Is the woman has no morals, and to that effect, next week will be spent the whole show talking about Palmetto Bay, talking about the vice mayor, Leanne, talking about the councilman. Steve Cody and what's going on.
Is this pretty typical of all counties and all cities? Is this
No, usually everybody gets along, but unfortunately, Dade County does not like Palmetto Bay politicians. I mean, believe me, I got a lot of connections in there. They think they're unprofessional. They think that they don't, they're out, whatever. We'll get into that next week too.
Okay.
They just think, literally, there's not one person on Miami-Dade commission that I know that happens to like Mayor Karen Cunningham. They think there's something wrong with her mentally. So, I mean, being perfectly blunt, but that's the deal. So anyway, so next week we're going to talk about all about Palmetto Bay. If you, I keep getting phone calls. Hey, you're not talking about Palmetto Bay anymore. You're not talking about Palmetto Bay. Next week we'll be talking about Palmetto Bay, Karen Cunningham, and the rest of the crew. So we're going to talk about. I did a lot of research. Mo goes, boy, did you do a lot of homework? And I said, yeah. I mean, it's important to do homework. It's important.
When he asked me to come back on the show, he knew I was going to call him out on the
yeah.
facts.
So I did all kinds of.
So he's ready for me this time.
I'm not. It's not that I'm ready or not ready. I just, there's a lot of things. You hear that. You hear. And once again, I got to preface this by saying I own over 30 guns. Okay, I own an AR-15, an AK-47, all kinds of guns. So it's not like I'm anti-guns. I was raised and trained on a shooting range. My dad was a boot camp sergeant who taught me how to shoot when I was 6 years old. So it's not like I'm against guns. That's the farthest thing from the truth. What I'm against is NRA lunatics, right? So you hear all the time that New York passed gun control restrictions, and they have the highest gun crimes there, and the rest of the Northeast, like Massachusetts and New Jersey, they all passed gun restrictions, and the crime is running rampant. California with the gun restrictions, crime and gun crimes with guns are running rampant. I went to the CDC, right? I went to the CDC to look at the mortality by state by firearm, and this is what I found. These are the states with the lowest mortality rate who have, I guess, the most protective gun control laws. Would you say protective? I mean, I guess if you don't have a gun, it's a kind of an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Massachusetts.
Well, open or liberal?
This is 2017, I believe. Oh, no, this is 2019. So, by the way, this is going to be a lot of statistics today, okay? Because there's always information out there that people put out there that is just so incorrect, but they use it as talking points. Just like what I just said, you always hear about how rampant gun crime is in these states that have gun control. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Hawaii have the lowest deaths mortality rate by state, okay, out of 100,000. So Massachusetts is 3.4, New York's 3.9. This is per 100,000. And for the year 2019, New Jersey is 4.1 and Hawaii is 4.4. Now, the states that have the highest mortality rate, okay, are the ones with the least gun control. Least or the lackest? Or how would you say that?
I think the least, yeah.
The least gun control.
The least amount of gun control laws or
gun
policies.
control laws.
Yeah.
So you have Mississippi with 24. Now, by the way, that's 20. It's 19 more deaths per 100,000 than Massachusetts. So you have Mississippi, Wyoming, New Mexico, Alabama, Louisiana, and Missouri. They have the highest deaths per 100,000 and the most lax is the word I'm looking for.
Nah.
Lax gun control
laid
laws.
back or lax.
Okay, lax. Okay, so anybody who says, "Oh, well, look at Chicago." Okay, look at the gun crime in Chicago. Let's find Chicago. Well, Chicago's a city, but you have this here somewhere? I can't see it. Chicago. I can't even find Illinois. Oh, here we go. Illinois is 10 murders or 10 deaths per 100,000 is another one. So what they're basically telling you is not necessarily true.
Well, I do have a fact that goes along with that, though.
Okay.
And again,
yeah, you're cheating off my facts.
Yeah, I'm cheating. But I'm using David's facts against him. So, by the way, I'm using his information against him. But no,
That's okay.
But I am glad that he's actually using stats, and it seems they all seem to be coming from reputable sites, right? I mean, yeah. I think one of the things David's is going to do later on the show is actually apologize for some misinformation that he.
I never have misinformation. Which misinformation is that?
About the.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It has nothing to do with guns. It just has to do with a slide we put up.
Yeah, well,
or a picture we put up.
Well, no, it was about guns. Yeah, involving guns. But
correct.
No, I mean, again, these are some facts from this site. It's progun.org, procon.org, and it states that Mexico has some of the strictest gun control laws in the world. And yet in 2012, Mexico had 11,309 gun murders, which was about 10 gun homicides per 100,000.
Okay, that's like it. That's Illinois.
And
that's about
compared to the
Illinois
United
is.
States that had 9,146 gun homicides, which is about 3 per 100,000 people.
I think it's also important
That's
to
interesting.
note that
Yeah.
Mexico is super high on corruption and they've got problems with cartels. And
Yeah, I think that's
massive
probably
corruption.
where the rest of the. But what's interesting is look at that. So you're talking about 9. You're talking about in Alaska or Mississippi, you have 24. You're talking about 15 more gun deaths in Mississippi or Wyoming or New Mexico than you are in Mexico.
And that's
And by the way, we're the fact of the matter, and I'll get into this in a second because I want to talk about an email that a buddy of mine put out on Facebook about gun control that I completely disagree with 90% of what he has to say. But you're talking about a third world country, which I would assume that Mexico considered a third world, or are they second tier? I don't
think
know.
Mexico's in development.
I think
so
I think
it's a
I think it
developing
depends who
country.
you're asking.
Well, we have the
I
internet.
don't know.
So
Anyway,
I can
so we're
check.
talking about a country that has no control over their population for the most part. Then we're like supposed to be the best country in the world, right? We're the leader. We're the leader in the world. We're the policeman. We're the policeman of the world for number one. And so if you were going to say who are the world powers right now, after you've seen what is going on with Russia and Ukraine, you would say Russia is not a leader and not a world power, unless you can sit there and say, okay, there's a country that they're world power because they have a nuclear weapon, but then you'd say Pakistan and India would be world powers. I don't think in any way, shape, or form that right now Russia is a world power. I think it's probably us and China, U.S. and China.
I don't. I mean, I definitely think they've lost the luster or that image that they had back from the 80s and the 90s of them being a world power. I definitely think that's gone. I wouldn't necessarily think that they weren't a world power. They may just not be the world power that we used to know them as, or those, at least when we grew up watching
I think they're second
films
tier.
like Red Dawn, they may be a second tier world power.
They're second tier, and I think actually that there's probably some. First of all, I didn't realize that how large Russia was, but how their population they have half the population what the United States has. It's crazy. I always thought they had more, but they have less. I guess it's because they kill everybody.
It's a lot of coal.
It's
You said they kill everybody.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I guess it's because they kill everybody.
Well, I mean, majority of it is cold, tundra, barren. It's not the most hospitable to many parts of it. So
Whatever. Anyway, I don't know. We're going off on tangents here. So anyway, so let's talk about gun control. So I want to talk about on Facebook, an old friend of mine who I always get in debates with, and I don't agree with him probably 90% of the time. Richard Peoples, or as people know him as Brick Peoples. He's one of the guys, he's one of the old rednecks from Miami, right? So he's one of the guys that actually used to drive.
Legend. Yeah.
He's one of the guys that used to drive the Palmetto Senior High School with the rebel flag or the Confederate flag. You've seen people like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the back window and have the gun rack and all that good stuff. By the way, if you want to sit there and email me any questions or any comments, you want to call in, you can call in. So you know where he's coming from. It's the old Miami type boys,
good
right?
old boy,
the good old boys.
Yeah.
So Palmetto Senior High School, it was really back in the day when I was a kid, it was pretty much white. Okay, I mean that's all you can say about it. You had white Jewish kids or white not Jewish kids. Okay, that's what we went to Palmetto. Okay, I mean very few African Americans when I went there that I can remember. Very, very few Latins. But that's what Palmetto was back in the day. So you'd have a bunch of guys driving in with their trucks and their shotguns and their back windows. And you had a whole bunch of different, and you had fraternities too. You'd have Teak and Titans and all these other fraternities, which, I don't think you could have fraternities now in high schools. I think that would be next. So anyway, so going back he's an old redneck guy. Okay. He does a lot of hunting and he's a boat captain and all this other stuff. So he came out with this email. This post on Facebook that basically, I guess I can read part of this. Okay. I've been quiet on the Texas school shooting up until now, a horrible tragedy that needs to be fixed. Right now, we're all hearing of politicians pandering for votes. Okay. Which I absolutely agree with them. Gun control doesn't do anything. First of all, nobody can say gun control doesn't do anything because we've never had gun control in this country. We all know that. This goes back to what I talked about before. Wait, stop. We all give me a second. Chicago, New York, California, Baltimore, strictest gun laws and the highest crime. Okay. They have the strictest gun laws, but the least deaths by gun. They may have the highest crime, but the fact of the matter, it's the deaths. Is
the overall number of deaths or deaths by gun?
Deaths by guns.
Okay.
If you look at the stats, it shows that the states or the cities that he's looking at, okay, they are not the highest. It's not the highest crime. It's the least. It says right here in a firearm.
But I just want to be clear what I'm asking, because someone, you can say they weren't the highest amount of deaths by gun, but they may have been still the highest amount of deaths. And again, death and killing and murder is murder.
It might be, but he's talking about there's no. He is sitting there making a point which he has no relevant backup. Okay, that there is a correlation between gun control laws and highest crime rate. There's no anecdotal evidence to suggest that what he's saying is true, is what I'm saying. Okay, so let me keep going. There have been numerous shootings that we heard about, but now we're in election year, so the Democrats can't let this tragedy go to waste. Once again, it's Republicans versus Democrats, which is all bullshit, because everybody wants to sit there and argue for their party, which is a bunch of crap. So no more gun control. So more gun control is their topic for the day to go to. If we want to make our schools safe and stop the mass shootings, we need to make some changes. Everyone keeps saying that no one but has any ideas of gun control. More gun laws won't stop anything, which once again, he has no proof of what he's saying. These evil people don't follow any laws. They want their fame. Agree with that. The problem isn't gun. It's evil people with mental issues. Okay. I'll agree with the fact that it's mental. Anybody who kills another person, whether it's a knife, a gun, a car, a bomb, has some mental issues going on.
Agreed.
Okay. There's nobody that's going to sit there and kill somebody who doesn't have something loose in the screw. This is where it gets me absolutely crazy. Okay. This is his suggestions to fix the problem. Okay. Put a 6-high fence with barbed wire on top around all schools. One entrance, exit. Armed guards at the entrance. Don't tell me we're imprisoning our children. We're not. We're trying to keep the bad guys out. We are a world power. One or two world powers in the country. We're going to sit there and put our kids in schools where there's barbed wire all around the school because somebody doesn't want to have some sort of gun control? Point? You want to give me your point? Let's barbed wire our kids in. Let's barbed wire our 6th and 7th.
Well, I told you.
Let's do it. Let's put barbed wire all around schools so our 6th and 7th graders, instead of looking out of the window, they think they're in prison. Why not? Because somebody doesn't want gun control.
Well, one can argue it's just going to keep all the poor innocent kids and teachers inside. They're not going to let them get out.
I mean, but stupidity. This is what's wrong with the debate on gun control. And I could go through some of the other things here. This is what's wrong with the gun debate is stupidity like this. If you read this whole email, I mean, come on, do you really want your 5th and 6th grade?
I don't want to live in a police state. I've mentioned that already. That I don't want to live in a world that's
here you go. Okay, guard entrances. I don't have a problem with guard entrance. Actually, I just think it's stupid. Okay, metal detectors at the entrance of all schools. Once again. If you are sitting there saying, I don't want to debate gun control, let's put our kids in jail. I mean, come on, Richard. I know you probably didn't graduate from college.
Yeah, but let's take a step back. Yeah, but so this whole metal, no, because I do want to make a point about the metal detector thing. You're assuming that a lot of these school shootings happen with somebody who's trying to conceal a weapon and go inside.
Yeah, I mean, I would just walk in,
well, that's what I say. Generally, they start shooting in. Yeah, they start shooting their way in. So I'm not necessarily sure that the metal detector is going to solve the majority of these problems.
I mean, come on. I mean, stupidity is stupidity. Okay, this is just like, instead of talking realistic, and I'm not saying take away guns. Instead of talking realistic, something where we can all get together and everybody can agree, this guy, wants to sit there and put barbed wire fences with a metal detector. And I'm not done. Train and arm teachers with guns. Let those teachers conceal carry. Let me tell you something. I've met a lot of teachers. I don't want them to have Gina Terry, love you to death, but I don't want her walking in school with a damn gun. I've seen her out on the range. She scares the shit out of me. We live together, I don't want her to have a gun. If you arm a principal, whether it's male or female, and they go through some sort of basic training and they're in the ex-military, maybe they, if they're ex-military, maybe they have, but ex-military, some ex-military people are off their rocker too.
Yeah, but I think, listen, I think I'm on the fence on this one. I do believe that if there are some,
wire fence.
well, yeah, I'm on the barbed wire fence on this one, but if there are some individual teachers that could be trained, that are qualified,
yes,
that meet the criteria, and again, well, I mean, it's gonna sound kind of silly, but and who are actually willing to respond to an incident, right? Because again, basically, what happened in Texas also, where you hear about the police waiting
wait for an hour,
yeah, so
or in Parkland where the guy didn't go in there. Now, if it was me, I would have gone in there because I'm crazy like a fox.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't sit there.
Well,
let's sit there and train a 60-year-old teacher how to use a firearm. I mean, come on, get realistic. This is NRA talking points.
Imagine asking a teacher to put down one of their students.
Well, listen, I don't think that one is so absurd. I do believe that if there's some people that, again, are trained, but I think the fact of the matter is if you have police, again, here's my only argument with this, or my only concern with this point. If you have police who aren't going in and engaging with the shooter, what's the probability of your average teacher going and engaging with a shooter, active shooter? I guess that's maybe more of the.
Well, number two is believe it or not, if you get whether you have a concealed weapon or not, you're not allowed.
Well, yeah,
in a school.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so what you're doing is saying, okay, well, these people with concealed weapons can't get into school, but a teacher, we'll keep a sawed-off shotgun underneath the teacher's desk in case somebody breaks in. Come on, really? Let's see what other kind of stupid.
But for the record on that point,
yeah,
I do believe if there's qualified individuals that have gone through training and have the actual mental and intestinal fortitude to do something and to stand up, I think it's a possibility.
I got no problem with that. Security, ex-military security, police officer. And by the way, we have police officers at all schools now.
But that's my point. But if they're not going to engage with an active shooter, what good does it do?
I know.
But
we do in Dade County. We have police officers at every school.
Did you know that police at schools actually tend to make shootings worse because the shooter goes in armed with more equipment, knowing that there's a policeman at the school? Shooters tend to know their schools.
So basically, he's saying that if we had armed teachers that the shooter wasn't aware of, we'd have better probability.
No, here we go.
Stopping the active shooter.
No. You got an F on your test. No, I mean, come on, seriously. Okay, whatever kind of idiocy. I mean, the whole thing is just full of talking points that are just so. It's almost narcissistic. Okay, if you read some of the stuff, because what you're saying is let's get away from the real conversation about doing something that's going to have an effect, because I won't let anybody sit there and disarm me. And I get that, but I don't want to disarm him. What I want to do is make sure that people who are not law abiding don't have guns. Right. And some of the things that they should do is
I was just going to do that to you, because if you
I've never been arrested.
But if you invite me on the show, I'm going to call you out.
Yeah, go ahead.
And are you ready for this?
Yeah, go.
You're not going to take it personal?
No,
because I don't want to be on your list with next to Steve Cody, but or Mayor Cunningham. But my question is this: everybody says somebody should do something. What is that something?
Okay, so somebody should do something, and these are some of my ideas. Number one is if you get caught with a gun in a crime. First of all, nobody should, and we talked about a little bit before. Nobody in the United States should be allowed to own a gun unless you're a U.S. citizen. Point blank. Okay, you got to be a U.S. citizen. Okay?
Fair enough. I can support that.
Number two is if you're caught with a gun in a crime, even if you're caught with a gun and you don't even discharge it, you just have a gun in a crime, automatic 10 years with no early release for parole. If you're caught and somebody gets hurt with a gun, okay, you shoot somebody and they're injured, okay, it's an automatic 20 years in jail. If somebody uses your gun, okay, in a crime, whether your kid steals your gun or not, okay, it's an automatic 5 to 10 years. There has to be, and I'm not talking about, putting somebody in jail for 10 years and letting them out in 3. I'm talking about
but how
sticking them in jail.
Okay, so
and we can, by the way, we can free up all the space in our jails by anybody who got caught with pot, which has never hurt anybody. Okay, as far as I know. is automatically released from jail.
It hurts big
Yes.
tobacco. It hurts big tobacco.
Okay.
Okay.
Because let me tell you something.
Yeah, but
More-
hold on a second.
okay.
I gotta take a step back.
Okay,
here.
you can have take any
Okay,
step
so
you want.
great. Somebody just slammed their magic gavel, and
Okay.
great. All these laws have been enacted,
Mm-hmm.
and you just got your great wish. How is that going to change what happened in Texas?
What we're worried about is going forward. You're not going to be able to change it.
No. But
Okay, so let's talk about
all those scenarios that you just gave me. What was
Okay.
your first scenario?
Okay, wait. I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm not done.
Okay,
And one of the things I would say, okay, with the exception of if you're in the military, you are now not allowed to own a gun until you're 21. And everybody goes, and I go, and I'm saying, okay, so when I was a kid, okay, and I'm sure some people remember this, the drinking age was 18. Too many kids were getting killed, DUIs, drunken driving.
Yeah.
A lot of kids were getting killed. So MAD came out and said, look, we got to raise the drinking age from 18 to 21 because 18-year-old kids, we all know, because you read it everywhere, that your brain is not fully formed yet and you don't understand the consequences of your actions. Okay, especially with all these computer games and video games and everything that people are playing. If you are not allowed to own a gun, okay, you can fire it, you can go to a shooting range, you can do all this stuff. You are not allowed to go buy a gun in the United States until you're 21 and until you take a course, a gun safety course. Okay, and it has to be 3-prong or whatever, a safety course. If you own a gun, you have to have a license. Just like if you drive a boat, you have to have a license. Or if you drive a car, you have to have a license. There's some things that you have to have, okay, and it's not, the government's not coming to take guns away. You know how many, you read the statistic, we have 1.2 guns for every, see if you can find it, 1.2 guns for everybody in the United States.
It was 120 guns per 100 people.
Yeah. Okay.
120.
Some of that's me, by the way. So you have 330 million people in this country.
Well, no, the stat was that this is based on August of 2020. 393,347,000 guns.
That goes to my point. We have 350 million. We have 350 million people in this country, somewhere around 330 to 350. Okay, and you have 393 million guns. I mean, I'm okay with that. As long as the sane people have the guns.
Yeah, but okay, so I can support, again, I don't think it's the end of the world if we go from 18 to 21. I mean, frankly, I do see a lot of 18, 19-year-olds that I don't think they should be owning guns. So I would probably support you on this. I don't think it's a big problem. Again, they want to go shooting with their parents.
And that's,
they want to go shooting
unless you're
with
in the
their
military.
friends.
If you're in the military, because they did the same thing about drinking. If you were in the military and you were over the age of 18, you could still drink. They gave you a card or something that says, I was in the military, I'm allowed to drink because I'm in the military. Okay, that's reasonable, right? So if you're in the military, because let me tell you something, the best training in the world with a gun is when you're in the military, because they actually teach you to respect a gun, which in my opinion, today's society has no respect for firearms at all. They just don't. I've been in Tamiami gun range before, shooting, and I gotta tell you, those people, I mean, they're very strict.
Yeah.
But you got to get to the point where they're strict, right? So I saw somebody
it's scary.
Loading freaking bullets, 357 bullets in their gun, pointing the gun up in the air. And the guy goes, you can't do that. But he caught him, right? And that's the way they sound on the microphone. Excuse me, Wayne, shooter number 4.
Yeah.
Please point your barrel of your gun down on the ground.
Well, it makes me nervous. No, that's a fact. I said it. I definitely think there's many people who should not own a gun, who should not carry a firearm, who are definitely not qualified. I've actually been around a few negative discharges myself. I got stories to share, so I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, they're nuts. I saw a lady down in Homestead. We were at a gun range down in Homestead. Literally, there was active firing on the gun range. She started walking out to change her target. I mean, I just, people like that should not own a gun.
Yeah.
And they stopped her and they pulled her out and stuff, and everybody stopped firing. But how do you sit there in the middle of people firing at targets?
Lack of training.
And she walked out there with a gun.
Yeah, no, lack of training. I mean, I've said it all the time. I get nervous. I get nervous around most people that carry or shoot firearms because I feel that they don't have adequate training.
What would you guys think about a psychiatry test in order to own a gun? Like people who are suicidal can't own guns.
Well, I mean,
I think that's important.
Yeah, but I think listen, I mean, but going back to his point in the laws, I mean, you're assuming that all these incidences are happening because somebody's purchasing this firearm legally. And that's why I'm a little bit, that's why I'm not as adamant and not so supportive of what David says. It's not that I don't think that they're good points. At least my belief is that I think majority of the incidents that are occurring, they're going to continue to occur as long as somebody has access to a firearm. Because there was the school shooting here in Sandy Hook. It took, I believe it was a family member's firearm. It wasn't a purchased firearm. If you raise it from 18 to 21, it's probably going to reduce the possibility or make it harder. But if I have access to it or if I can steal it, it's still going to happen.
Oh no, I get that.
That's why I think David's proposal is good.
It's like why people put alarm systems, alarms in their house. They're not going to stop everybody from breaking in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's going to deter it, right?
But they are.
Yeah. No, it's again, and that's why I'm not saying it's a bad idea. And I just want to make it clear that it's not always the case. A lot of these incidences, I don't even think they were brand new purchase firearms.
Okay, so here we go. So I got this. Okay, everybody's gonna say, and by the way, this came from the NPR, and everybody goes, "Oh, that liberal piece of shit radio station that's funded by the U.S. government." And I'm going, okay, so this is from the NPR. I like to sit there and disclose my sources so people can sit there and say, "Singer, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about." By the way, once again, if you want to call in, you can call in. If you want to text and ask a question or make or have a comment, that's fine too. So 12 stats to help inform the gun control debate. Okay, this is NPR. Let's go through. 100 people killed by guns in the U.S. every day. It's a lot of people, man. I wonder how many people aren't killed.
How many people are die from cigarette smoke or secondhand cigarette smoke?
But the deal is, I get that. Probably not say. Oh, by the way, and if people did die from cigarette smoke and secondhand smoke, why do you think they changed the law? Okay, to say you can't smoke in restaurants. By the way, it's not in the Constitution that you can smoke. You don't have the right to smoke in the Constitution.
That's true.
Okay, so gun control. I mean, guns are part of the Second Amendment. You do have the right to a firearm. But if you look back, women weren't allowed to carry guns in the early 1900s. African Americans couldn't carry guns. The Chinese couldn't carry guns. It's amazing the list of the only people that were allowed to have guns in the early 1900s. Around World War I, that point were white men. I mean, so don't tell me it's in the Constitution because
all I'm saying, throwing out a stat that's it. And again, by the way, I'm not saying I have a dog in this fight. By the way, I just like to bring up.
And I have no problem. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying that.
But
everybody claims the Second Amendment. But if the Second Amendment was held true to standard, right? Everybody back then in the early 1900s, okay, women would have been allowed to carry guns, and blacks would have been allowed. Guns would have been more prevalent for other people than white males.
Okay,
would you agree with that? Yeah,
but you're also alluding to the fact that just a random stat published by NPR. Again, not saying it's anything wrong.
Oh my God, NPR, it's terrible. That means
but I'm just saying it's just 100 people die. Okay,
so let's go through
the number of people killed by guns in the U.S. every day. 100 people. Okay. Great, but again, is that high? Is that low? There's no context to it. How many people die from a car accident every day? How many people die from a slip and fall?
A car accident, unless it's a DUI.
I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying.
Would you say? Okay, so let me ask a question. So would you agree or disagree that killing somebody by a gun is malicious?
Well, again, it doesn't say in here that it said killed by guns. Was it a police officer defending another citizen? Was it someone? That's a good point. That's a good point. Was it a home invasion and I was defending my family?
Oh, that's something in here too, by the way. Okay, so
again, all I'm saying it's a very broad, generic statement that has no context.
Let's go.
So be careful.
Okay, so
next point.
Number of children who die every day from gun violence.
I don't think I'm going to get invited back on the show.
No, you can be invited. Tell me about 12 people, 12 kids every day. Okay. School shootings since Sandy Hook.
Wait, number 12, the number of children who die
every day from gun violence.
Yeah, that's
okay. 12. Okay. School shootings since Sandy Hook, including 27 school shootings so far this year. 950 school shootings since Sandy Hook. When was Sandy Hook?
4 years ago now.
Was it?
Can't remember.
I have another stat. Okay, here we go. This is the number one. Peak ages for violence for violence offending with firearms. Peak ages for violent offending with a firearm, 18 to 21.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
this goes back to your point.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to bring now again peak, but is it marginally? Is it 1% more than everybody else? Is it a significant diffence? I just wish.
I actually read that. I think 80%.
Okay. Well, no,
80% is
then-
between 18 and 21.
then I think that your
Okay.
your proposal to go from 18 to
Okay.
21 makes sense. There's stats to back it up.
8 million AR-15s. That's why if you make them illegal, they're just going to trade. I mean, it's just ridiculous. By the way,
Yeah.
what kills me, and I said this last week, was the majority of people that want no gun control are the same ones that want to sit there and control a woman's body. Okay, I'm telling you right now, because if you look at the stats, it's Republicans. Okay, the majority of the Republicans don't want gun control, but they do want to get involved in a woman's body. Just something to mull over. Okay, people who will die after attempted suicide with a gun, 9 and 10. I guess one of those people have no clue to how to. Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
Oh, here we go. 98% of mass shooters are men.
Well, but again, but again, I'm gonna have to call this one 9 in 10 number of people who 9 in 10 number of
9
people who
in
will
10.
die after attempting suicide with a gun.
Yeah.
So basically, they're just saying they're going to be more successful if they attempt suicide with a weapon. I mean,
I'm just reading the stats
Okay,
off. You can jump in anytime you want. 98% of the mass shooters are men. Okay.
so we
percentage of gun
so we
owners
should
who-
ban gun ownership to men.
Between the age of 18 and
Between
21.
18 and 21.
Because if you think about it, the 80% would bring this.
Yeah, it'll be about
Bringing
1% down.
Okay.
Well, 1% of violent.
I told you there's going to be a lot of, unfortunately or fortunately today, there's going to be a lot of stats. Okay. Because I did my homework and I want to bring some of this stuff out, because you know what? It's stuff like, it's people like Richard Peoples who spout nonsense when he has no ability to actually understand facts or read them.
Yeah, but by the way, I support you in this cause, and I appreciate the fact they actually brought out numbers. I just like to mention that sometimes numbers out of context can also be dangerous. That was really
No. I'm
Yeah.
with you. We're gonna have a conversation about that too.
Yeah.
This afternoon. Okay. Percentage of gun owners who favor preventing mentally ill from purchasing guns. This is one stat that blew me away. Okay. Only 98% of people out there think that mentally ill should not get a hold.
It's actually 89.
Oh, I'm sorry. 89% think that mentally ill people should not be allowed access to guns.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
What are the other 11% thinking? I mean, seriously,
those are the mentally ill.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, those are.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, how can that not be 100% of the people who sit there?
I think that should actually be the test. It's whoever said no to that
Do not. I mean, seriously,
should not be allowed to buy a
can you
firearm.
explain that to me? Come on, you're
No.
young. Your generation is supposed to be. Your generation is going to be in control pretty soon. I mean,
Well, I guess
11% of the people say, okay, if you're mental and
If you have a mental illness, yeah.
mental illness, or you're a schizophrenic or something, we're going to get you a gun.
Well, mental illness spiked up with social media, so my guess is there's more people saying like, "Oh, that's not a disqualifier." I think it's a disqualifier. I do not want anybody who's got a distorted view of reality handling a gun. Potentially handling my life.
I think it's safe to say that
That's crazy. When I looked at that, I was like, okay, I get the other stats and everything,
Yeah.
but what are the other 11% that change? Okay.
But I'm telling you, I think that's
Okay.
I think they just proved that 11% of the population is mentally ill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Percentage of gun owners who favor background checks at private sales and gun shows, 77%. And that to me, that made me made me very happy that the majority of people actually think that there should be background
And listen,
checks.
and I want to speak to that for 1 second, because a lot of people talk about like Big Brother watching you, and I don't want people to know this, and I don't want people to know that. And although I'm a relative private person, at the same time, so listen, if I have nothing to hide, and if I have no ill will, and I have no intent to cause anybody else harm, I don't care if people know. Right? There's also a part of me that doesn't have this phobia, but I can understand both sides, right? And so,
I've heard you play both sides.
yeah. All I'm saying is that one is kind of an interesting topic, because I see some of these fanatics that says, I don't want them to know anything, and I, and Big Brother's watching, and they're so hell bent on nobody seeing anything. But at the same time, I'm like, listen to my conversations, be bored to death, watch. So, what do you want to know? I mean, if it really makes
I don't want people, and I don't.
Yeah,
This is my problem. I'm not like, I'm not liberal or a conservative, right? I don't want people in our houses and stuff like that. Unless
Well, no,
there's a reason.
I agree, but I'm
You
saying,
know?
but to the part where he becomes fanatical about it. No, I don't want. There's certain things. It's like, listen, they really want to know. Let them know. I mean, it's not gonna.
'Cause I'm not
Yeah.
worried. I mean, the only one that I know that would probably be worried about people, eavesdropping or listening or looking into what he does is Steve Cody.
I was gonna.
I mean, that guy's going to end up going somewhere.
I was waiting for
Yeah,
it.
no,
I was
waiting
waiting for
Okay,
it.
so here we go. Percentage of gun deaths that are suicides. Okay, 54%. So there you go. So out of that 100 that die every day, 54, I would assume 54 are suicides.
Okay, so
Okay.
again, devil's advocate.
Yeah. By the way, 43 are murders.
Yeah, 43% of
So
murders.
how does that doesn't that up to 100%?
Okay, but let's again. So again,
Yeah.
facts and stats out of context. Now,
Yes.
if somebody can now argue to say out of those 54, the percentage of suicides that's from gun, the 54%.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that if they didn't have a gun, they would not commit that suicide? If somebody can argue that, then I can say, okay, this can have merit in this conversation. But if now I didn't own a gun, so now I'm just going to go hang myself, or I'm going to do a death by police, and now I'm going to just go and attack a police officer to get shot. Again, out of context. And 43% of murders are done by a gun. Now, you got to. All I'm saying is they got to take these stats further. I think they're not doing a great job, NPR. And I'm sorry, you're not doing a great job by just throwing out these numbers out there without context behind them. Because
I can look some of the stuff up for the next.
Because 43% of murders. Okay, great, but
okay, so percentage of murders that are involve firearms, 79%.
Okay.
Okay, so you got 79% of people that are murdered. You got 100 people that are murdered. 79% of them are with a gun, which was surprisingly high. I thought throwing somebody off a balcony, poisoning, killing somebody with a knife. I mean, all the things that you see in movies. I thought that would actually be a lower stat. Okay, so this is the one I like. Percentage of people who defended themselves with their guns in violent crime. With all the guns out there, violent crime.
393 million guns, by the way. 393
by the way,
guns.
this is with all the guns out there and all the people that say, I need a gun to defend myself in case there's a crime. Less than 1%.
Are you serious?
Less than
I believe
1%.
it, yeah.
Less than 1% of people defend themselves with their guns in a violent crime. So I guess if somebody breaks into your house or steals your car, you're like, my gun's in my dash. I'm not going to be able to get to it, or I left my gun at home or something. But can you imagine less than 1% of people who defend themselves? that always killed me.
That's a pretty.
I thought. I mean,
Well, I'm actually gonna support you on this one, which I actually have a problem with most people carrying a gun and even attempting to use it in a defensive situation.
Well,
I almost think they have a better chance of getting themselves killed. So I mean, you hear about the time.
That's the problem, is because even with concealed weapons permit, which I have not gotten, which I've been talking about getting for the last 10 years, it's a firearm class, right? An hour.
Yeah.
You can't learn how to use a gun properly in an hour.
No, they teach you the laws of how not to go to jail using your firearm, but they don't teach you how to use a firearm. Yeah.
Oh, you have a concealed weapons permit?
I
Do you want to read some of the comments, David?
Oh, yeah. Are there comments?
Yeah, someone's pissed off at you.
Hold on.
Surprise, surprise.
I can't even read that. Okay.
So, one of the comments from Kelly Harper Willis says, David, guns don't kill people. Guns don't kill, people do.
I would.
Then there's another one from her.
Technically, the bullets do.
Yeah. It says, David, I can't believe the crap you're saying. You're so liberal, like Steve Cody, and the entire Palmetto Bay Council.
I told everybody I own 30 guns. I'm just repeating.
These are statistics.
These are statistics. I'm just reading statistics. I own 30 guns. I wouldn't let anybody take my guns away from me because I believe guns. I just believe I believe in some sort of gun debate and gun reform laws. There's some other good stuff on there. You want to go through? There's some great stuff here.
But I do want to mention something.
Yeah.
As pro-gun as I am, as probably some of you probably mentioned, because I do believe in the First Amendment. The Second Amendment, and I do believe that it is part of American nostalgia. It is part of the culture of the country, and what made this nation great. And again, a lot of these folks, if you've ever been to third world countries and you've heard the constant stories, there is some truth and some merit to it, right? It isn't just rhetoric. In most of these third world countries, it always starts with, we're safe now. Let's confiscate these weapons. It's okay. You have government that, we're going to look out for you. We know what's best. There is this pattern, right? So all I want to say is that this fear and anxiety that these folks have, there is some reality behind it.
The problem is you're talking about countries that are third world countries. You're not talking about a country like the United States.
Well, okay. Well,
nobody's going to take away 389,000 guns.
Well, that's the point. At this point in time, with 393 million guns out there, they won't. But there is some. All I'm saying is that in many other nations, this scenario is real, and it has happened. So let's be fair to that.
Okay, so let's go through. Okay, so everybody's talking about the AR-15s or whatever and how they should be legalized, and I don't think they should be. Once again, I think they should be legal if you're 21 and older and you get proper training. I mean, this is all about, this is not about taking guns away. This is about training, maybe some licensing, and really making sure that the mentally disturbed do not get guns. Okay, they're mentally disturbed. And by the way, the HIPAA laws do not stop a doctor. I do not think a HIPAA law stop a doctor getting in touch with an authority, because there's a red flag law or something that's in Florida. Do you know anything about the red flag law? I have some paperwork on it. There's a red flag law that says if you're, your parent or your sister or brother or you're a school teacher or whatever, that you can legally call the authorities and the authorities will come and take the guns away. And I think that's okay. So HIPAA laws don't necessarily, not permit the ability of a psychiatrist or a psychologist calling.
I think yes, but I just want to caution somebody. And again, this is and you brought up a good point, because I've thought about that before. But where do you draw that fine line, right? What stops me from calling right now and says, listen, I've been on the show with David several times, and the way he rants about it, I don't think he should own these, so-called weapons, because I'm afraid he's going to do something with it.
Yeah,
right?
but
so all I'm saying, it's a slippery slope. Where does it stop when you open that Pandora's box?
It should be someone of authority.
Listen, let me tell you something. How many people call local authorities because there's a pothole in the front of their street, or their neighbors are playing their music too loud, and police have to investigate it? Do you know how many of those civil disturbances there are that police have to go to? It happens all day, every day. By the way, Patrick wrote something. He says, "Why not? See, you move the screen away from me. It's hard to make. Why not make 223 and 556 military style ammo illegal, or tax?" Can you read that?
Or tax the shit out of
it.
It's these rounds that are much more damaging than keep the ARs with civilian grade ammo.
Well, what does that mean, though? He's
basically
military grade ammo.
He's basically saying let's keep 9mm ARs, and that's okay. That's kind of.
You still have a magazine that holds 15 rounds or something.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't believe in changing. I don't believe in limiting magazine size either. The problem with limiting magazine size, you know how easy it is to pop a magazine out and put a magazine back in. It's not like filling a 6-shooter. Where you have to.
It's not a revolver.
Yeah, it's not a revolver. Where you have to sit there and go like this, or even if it's a fast.
I think people don't. I mean, again, obviously you're talking about trained professionals, but I've seen people change out a magazine, a 10-round magazine, put another one in 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds. So.
And by the way, handguns now have those. We were talking about the long magazines for handguns.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 30 round, 32 round magazines are pretty standard.
Actually, if you want to know the truth, if you were going to make something illegal, it would be the magazines for handguns, because I think handguns are more dangerous.
Well, you can conceal it better,
than AR-15. Although there was a lot. That's what I want to get into right now. So here's the list of the deadliest shootings. Okay, in the United States, and we can start at 2017. I don't know if this has been updated for the. It is Robb Elementary School. Okay, so they broke the top 10. Go figure. Okay, so Las Vegas shooting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Okay, so 60 deaths, 867 injuries, semi-automatic rifle, which I would assume is your AR, right? Okay. Orlando nightclub shooting, 2016, 49 deaths, 58 hurt. It was a pistol and a semi-automatic. Virginia Tech shooting, 2007, 32 dead, 23 injured, semi-automatic pistol. Okay, there you go. Okay, this is perfectly my point. Okay, yeah, in the top three. Well, in the top three, you had somebody who had an automatic pistol. Okay, that wasn't using an AK or an AR. Okay, Sandy Hook Elementary School, 27 dead, 2 injuries, semi-automatic rifle, I would assume, which is the AR.
Wait, guys. Oh, there. The connection died for a second. Are we back?
Oh.
We're back. Okay. The connection decided to die for a second.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Technical difficulties, but we're back.
okay, we're back. Sorry, guys. We were talking about. I was saying how 50% of the shootings, or the mass shootings, were in Texas, which has an open carry law. So go figure, right? Where everybody says, "Oh, Texas is so safe," right? Because they have an open carry law and anybody can carry their gun around. Well, apparently not if all these mass shootings are there. Okay, so we have Luby shooting in Texas, El Paso Walmart, which was 2 years ago. I remember that one. 23 people were murdered. It was with a AR. McDonald's massacre. I don't remember that one either. Oh, because I was still in, excuse me, San Diego, California. Semi-automatic carbine, pistol, and shotgun. Robb Elementary School. That's a new one. 21 murders. 19 were kids. Semi-automatic rifle. University of Texas Tower shooting, which was, I believe, was probably the first mass shooting ever. And I remember that whole story because I remember being in school and talking about it.
What happened to that Baltimore City sniper? What was it? What was it?
Oh yeah, but he
Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland. Yeah, but he was doing it with he was doing it on the back of his car. But he
Okay, no, but again, I bring this up because he was using a bolt action rifle. I mean, frankly, he was using a hunting rifle.
Yeah, but they were doing it out of their car.
Yeah.
They had a whole cut. They have a great story about that on Netflix.
Yeah, but the only reason I brought that up, it wasn't a handgun and it wasn't an assault rifle or semi-automatic rifle, because I hate using the word assault rifle because there's theoretically not assault rifles.
Yeah.
The media likes to call them assault rifles because it sounds scarier and more intimidating.
Well,
they're just semi-automatic rifles.
I think the problem is that the media can't wrap their heads around the fact that they're just basically for buying and killing, right? So there's no. It's hard to grab an AR or a AK and sit there and defend your house. You're going to grab a handgun, okay, if somebody breaks in and you're going to shoot them there. I mean, there's no. I don't think that there's, and you're not going to go shooting with these. Patrick will tell me if you can go shooting with an AR. I've never heard of anybody going shooting with an AR. A handgun is for protection. Shotguns for hunting. For the most part. By the way, everybody who sits there and says, well, Second Amendment. By the way, you can't have a shotgun with less than an 18-inch barrel. So if the Second Amendment was like so black and white, they could not stop you from buying a short barrel shotgun, which they can, because of the spread of the load. Stoneman Douglas, which we all know about, is Parkland 17. But Fort Hood was 14 people with a semi-automatic pistol and revolver. So it's not really all this somebody using AKs. So I get it. I mean, I don't have any reason to think that. And if they don't use the AKs, they're going to use something else.
Well, or they're going to steal one, or they're going to break into someone's home, or they're going to cause some other kind of mass destruction, right? And that's the whole point. Is that it's again, it's not easy just to. Okay, if we ban this magazine, we're going to solve the problem, which was my tirade on the episode where we were talking about it initially.
Well, there's no. I mean, a magazine. I mean, listen, it's just so. I guess what they're thinking, if there's downtime between like a shooter sitting there and reloading time, popping it out, you could shoot him and kill him.
Wait, hold on a second. This is the stuff that kind of annoys me. Yes, you could shoot him if someone's actually engaging with him, but if you're sitting outside waiting for 2 hours, what difference does it make?
I agree with that.
Well, but again, you're gonna what do they say that they're gonna set me? You're gonna trigger me. Sorry, that's the new word. You're gonna trigger me again, because who really cares if they got 2 rounds in a magazine, 12 rounds in a magazine, a revolver, a pistol, a stick, a Morning Star, or a mace? If you got the police waiting an hour to go in and engage the active shooter, does it really matter?
No, I agree.
You just triggered me again with these.
And by the way, what's weird is I think the sheriff of the police force is now on the city council. Okay, because he was going to get, he was elected to the city council. I think he should just step down because they screwed that whole thing up. I mean, there's just not one thing they did right in that whole thing. And I really truly believe that if they had followed the rules that Florida has in place, some really strict rules about active shooters, that some of those kids would be saved. Well, I think that's what they're going to find out.
But I think officers, as they get sworn in, they should be asked, "Hey, listen, will you engage? Right? Will you put your life at risk?" And if you're not,
or if they're not going to do it, let the parents do it. Well, I mean, stop the parents from going in there. And with all the open, with all the open gun laws, all those parents were probably packing too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So Kelly Harper again says about the Southwood Middle School murder, David. Tell me what weapon you want to blame it on. It looks like it was a knife.
It was definitely a knife. It was definitely a knife, and it was unfortunately one child. But if the kid, who by the way has recently passed away in jail, he did pass away in jail or die in jail, whatever you want to say it. If he had a gun, can you imagine the amount of damage that he could have really done? Instead of just killing one kid, he could have probably killed more.
I agree.
I mean, listen, if anybody who believes that you can kill as many people with a knife as you can a gun is just completely off base. I mean, and I'm not talking about Kelly. I'm just saying that it's too easy to kill people with a gun, and with a knife, it's a lot more difficult. Yeah. I would assume.
Well, I think anybody could agree that obviously it's easier to murder multiple people faster with a weapon, a rifle or a pistol. Yes.
Okay, what else do we got? Okay, here we go. The average American gun owner. By the way, I'm just reading the stats, right? So is this pro-con? This is a that's reliable, non-partisan, empowering history of gun control.
By the way, there was one comment somebody made on that site that I thought was actually kind of interesting. I do want to read it real quick.
You want to start going through these?
Yeah, okay. Because it says gun control's fundamental problem is that it tries to deal with gun violence as if it's a separate and unique phenomenon, but it's not. It's simply violence that happened to include a gun. And I kind of resonate with you because again, it goes back to what we talked about in previous shows, that people again are missing the point that it's still violence, and you can't blame the gun for the violence. We still got to understand why is this violence occurring in the first place. But anyways,
let me ask you a question: if people are taking, okay, so here's my question for you: if people are taking any other weapon, you can call anything a weapon,
a sword,
you
can buy a sword,
a sledgehammer, okay, a car,
a kitchen knife,
yeah, and they were killing, and it was 100 murders a day.
Yeah,
don't you think that there would be more restrictions on those items than there are? I mean, the society. This is what gets me. Okay, honestly, World War II was 85 years ago. I think it started in 1936. So about 85 years, give or take. Okay, we have advanced technology-wise so far in those 85 years. I mean, it's amazing. It's like night and day. You know, you have. I don't know if they even had refrigerators back there. They probably did, but they were probably just coming out. They didn't have color. They didn't have TVs. They didn't have color TVs. They listened to radio. I mean, they didn't have computers. They didn't even think about computers. I mean, think of all the things. Cars didn't have disc brakes. They didn't have power steering. Whatever. You could just anything you can imagine. We've advanced technology-wise so far. The human being has not advanced at all. I mean, our thought process is still where we were back in 1935. I mean, you can see that with Russia. You can see with the Russians going into Ukraine, just slaughtering defenseless people.
Well, they're desperate. They're desperate, and that's what they're doing.
I know, but the fact of the matter is we haven't advanced as humanity-wise. And there's something, and we're going to get to the point where technology has advanced so much, and we haven't advanced, and it's going to be it's just going to be dangerous. It's just, I mean, we're just somehow as a human race, we're stuck. And we don't realize that, if you take a life, that life's gone. It ain't coming back. You've just taken somebody's brother or somebody's sister or somebody's grandmother or somebody's uncle or somebody's mom or somebody's dad. You've taken somebody and you've taken away from their family, and you've taken away all their freedoms that they were actually born with in this country per se. And it's just and some of this has to go with gun control. And I put on Facebook that there's not, there's not one kid's life, okay, not one kid's life worth letting these crazy people have these guns, even if it's a Second Amendment.
Well, yeah, but this goes back to the previous show where you kept talking about, we can reduce the number of deaths, or they could have killed less kids, and that's when I put you on the spot. I said, okay, well, you tell me, out of the 26, which ones should have died? Okay, let's just do 5. That's why that's
well. I mean, let me tell you something. If 5 kids die, I hate to say it, 5 kids die, and I wouldn't want it to be mine. Okay.
Well, that's it.
Okay,
it's easy when it's not your kids.
It's a lot. It's a lot better than 19.
Correct.
Or 21. Yeah. Or 1 is better than 19 or 21.
Well, I think we're running out of time, but you want to apologize for the misinformation you.
No, what time is it now?
It's 4:03, but we did start a little bit late, so I would say
it's 5:03. Oh my God, I didn't even get.
5:03.
This is crazy. Okay. Anyway, so last week we put a meme up that I thought was actually a real meme, and I don't know where it is. And I apologize, it wasn't a real meme. The Republican who do you have the meme? This was I guess somebody didn't like the Republican, put it out in his name. So I apologize for putting this. There you go. Yeah, put that up there. This is not a direct quote. Somebody hacked his account, and
I think it was just a parody account. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, they put up this parody account and they used this and they posted it so that people like David, who are very passionate, would see it.
I'm not passionate. Yeah. I am passionate. I want to see. You know what? And if you want to, and if being passionate is wrong, I don't want to be right. Yeah. When you're talking about protecting children, I'm all for protecting.
Well, but I mean, the point of it is that somebody put this up there knowing that it was going to cause confusion. So shame on whoever did that. I'm not saying that. Again, it's not about right or wrong, or whether this gentleman or the state representative is even for or against. But the fact that people are putting this kind of information out there, just trying to stir the pot, and
it's constant. It's called the internet.
Yeah, but
and we're a lot worse off with the internet than we were without the internet because of all misinformation. And that we were going to talk about today, and we never got to. So you can come back and we'll talk about that. Anyway, I got to go. Sadine's got to go. We're just going to leave Mo in the room till next week. So anybody want to bring him food, please do. Thanks for everybody who's watched. If you want to pass around, please pass it around to all your friends. I'm interested in everybody's comments or everybody's opinions, as I always am. Next week, don't forget, we're going to be talking about Palmetto Bay. It's going to be Palmetto Bay all day. We're going to talk about the vice mayor, the mayor, and Councilman Cody, and what's going on with Palmetto Bay. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining in. Peace out. Stay safe, and give your kids a big kiss before they go to bed. Thank you.